Zoo Boys, Chapter 7, Part B. Dave ran ahead, yelling, "Fruit!" They were delighted to see a small grove of orange trees. Dave pulled off. I gotta make sure it's recording. Sorry about that. You would not believe the setup I have to try to record this. Okay. They were delighted to see a small grove of orange trees. Dave pulled 2 oranges off one of the trees, one in each hand. He bit straight into them, right through the rind, first the right one and then the left one. John pulled one off and checked it for bugs. Dave assured them, "Dig in, boys." John confirmed, "These will be a good food source." Jeremy pulled one off. He never had fruit right off of the tree. As he bit it, he expressed his delight. Juicy, but you gotta spit out the rind." He was trying to eat it like an apple. Ronnie watched the others. Juice was dripping down their faces. Ron thought oranges somehow just came down from the sun like rain or hail or snow, which he had never seen before either. Jeremy spoke with his mouth full of the delicious sugary treat. "Come on, Ronnie." He was slurping. "It's good. You asked for orange juice." Ron picked one off the ground. John saw him and yelled, "No, stop! Not off the ground, patooey!" It was too late. Ron had already sunk his teeth into it. He quickly spit it out as he questioned John. "What? Why? Who? Me?" John revealed the reasons. "Well, ones on the ground are usually more dirty, but also could have worms." Expressing his concern, Ronnie asked, "Will it kill me?" Dave jeered. "Stop scaring him, John." Then he taunted Ron. "Yes, you're gonna die now." Ron took him serious. Jeremy cleared things up. "No, you're not gonna die. You spit it out." "But I think I swallowed some," Dave continued. "Uh-oh. Oh, yep. You're gonna have worms in your belly now. And if you swallowed a seed, a whole orange tree will grow in your belly." "Oh no, I don't know if I got a seed. Splat!" Dave squinted his eyes as he recovered from the blow of an orange to the side of his head thrown by Jeremy. His retaliation was quickly returned as he gathered a few rotten ones from the ground near his feet. He expelled his complaint as he took his revenge. "My eyes are burning, you twig!" Jeremy dodged Dave's attempt to hit him with the rotten balls of expired fruit. One of them hit a tree near Ron, and they watched as a puff of mold smoke was sent lingering in the air. Jeremy commented, "Oh man, that one had like dry green mold on it." The dust floated away in the breeze. Ron yelled, "If you can dodge a ball, you can dodge an orange," while gathering his own ammunition. John ran to another tree, pulling 3 pieces of fruit off. He threw one per person, then took cover behind the tree. As he grabbed 3 more, he realized, "Oh, these are limes." He looked at the lime tree. They were green and much smaller than the oranges. That would make it hard to hit his targets. But he too was swept up in the fight. Ronnie yelled, "Fruit fight!" while running to some other trees nearby. He ducked behind one of the trees and gathered pieces on the ground. He quickly inspected them for worms. He now obsessed over his misconception that fruit with worms could be deadly. Pieces of orange peel and juice sprayed onto his bare chest from ones fired at him from Dave's hard throw. He sprung into action, returned the fire without looking or checking the fruit, that he was throwing. He got lucky and hit Dave square in the center of his back, knocking the wind out of his friend. Surprised by how much it hurt, Dave turned, looked down at the fruit that almost rendered him helpless. It looked like a yellow softball. "Ronnie, that's a grapefruit," Ronnie replied. "Sorry, I didn't know." As the boys continued their fruit fight. As the boys continued their fruit fight, fruit flies began to emerge. They had not noticed because they were so wrapped up in firing at each other and trying to dodge what was thrown at them. The tiny flies were growing in number until they formed their own cloud clusters. Ronnie was the first to complain. "Ugh, where are these bugs coming from?" John quickly came up with the answer. "Flies have an extraordinary ability to detect odors from great distances, up to 4 miles away. Fruit flies are drawn as far as 4.5 miles away." He realized he was being over-analytical, and he jumped back into the fight. He yelled as he continued to throw his limes. "They're just fruit flies, like gnats." Jeremy added a few words along with his volley of oranges. "They don't eat humans." Dave ignored the pain from a few hits he took earlier and began to throw 2 at a time while screaming, "You guys suck!" Gulp. He reacted adversely as a few fruit flies entered his gaping mouth. "Ugh, I was about to tell Ronnie to stop his crying, and some flew in my mouth." Jeremy tried to talk without opening his mouth. They won't bite, but they may fly up your nose and into your brain," Ronnie complained. "They're in my ears." John remained silent but deadly as he still practiced his aim. He thought, "I'm getting closer." He pulled the neck of his shirt up over his nose and mouth. The flies had no other option, so they were busy exploring his eyes. He fluttered his eyelashes in an attempt to swat them away. Dave noticed John's idea of using his shirt like a mask and quickly did the same thing as he continued to yell, "Okay, you bugs!" He had called his friends bugs before, but in this instant, they knew he was speaking directly to the flies. John yelled, "Dave, look! Look, Dave! You are truly the Lord of the Flies!" The boys had no idea what John was referring to, but that term seemed very applicable right now. John pictured what he had read in the book. He saw the group of British boys stranded on an uninhabited island. He remembered how those boys tried to govern themselves. Having read what happened in the fictional story helped him consider how humans are prone toward group thinking, caught up in mob mentality, but also able to contain individuality. He got a glimpse of how rational and emotional reactions worked, succeeded, or failed. Until he read that, he had no idea that there was a clear gap between morality and immorality, black and white in a gray world. The Lord of the Flies was one of the few books he had to push himself through. The decision the boys in the tale made ended up disastrous. Some parts were just too graphic and dark, but he finished reading it anyway. John's mind gladly leaped off that train of thought and briefly went to something else. He read, "If only we had a plague of frogs to eat all these." Suddenly, out of the trees and from the bushes, large bullfrogs came out. to feast on the swarming flies. I gotta take a drink real quick. Ronnie shouted, "It's raining frogs!" John's fears of future events alerted him to warn his friends. "This may draw birds." Dave asked. "Okay, so you give up?" Jeremy asked. "Who won?" Ronnie offered his declaration. "We're all gonna lose if those birds come back. Who cares who won? Let's go back to the cage." He shook his head, trying to defeat the flies. John said nothing. He was enjoying the sight of the toads feasting on the flies. John learned so much from things he read. Watching each frog enjoy the fly brought back a vivid memory of a book, not that he read, but that was read to him when he was very young. He spoke out loud. "Shipwreck Charlie." Jeremy was tapping him on the shoulder, asking, "What?" Followed by, "Come on, we're on the move. Don't want to leave you behind. You want to be stranded here? Come on." John snapped out of it and followed Jeremy as they both ran after Ronnie and Dave. John yelled, "Come on, Lee! I mean, Quasi!" He smiled and ran as his mind strolled down memory lane. He could see in his mind the main characters of that old children's book, Charlie the Frog and Lee the Lizard. The boys ran until they could run no more. By this time, the fruit juice on their skin was dry and sticky. Quasi took turns going around, licking each of them. They came to a pool, but it was drained dry. They sat on the edge, dangling their feet over the side. Dave caught his breath first, then remarked, "Wish we had our skateboards." Jeremy agreed, "Yeah, or our rollerblades." John asked, what's your shoe size?" Ronnie answered, 7, I think. Jeremy answered, "I'm size 7 in my shoes, but 6.5 for my inline skates." Dave was indifferent and affirmative. "Why? What does it matter? Are you into men's feet, Johnny?" John was taking his shoes off as he answered Dave. "What size do you wear?" Dave said, "Wouldn't you like to know? Disgusting perv." John handed his shoes to Ronnie, showing him the bottom. Ronnie smiled and began to try them on. Dave was still confused until Ronnie had them all laced up and dropped down into the bowl of the dry pool. Jeremy shouted in surprise, "Built-in skates! Yes! He's got Heelys!" Dave had to admit they were cool as he watched Ron skate up and down the side slopes of the ravine. Dave acknowledged John. "Cool." Then he questioned him. "Why didn't you just drop in there and skate yourself?" John gave a false answer. "I thought Ronnie would have more fun. I'm getting too old for that kind of stuff." Dave just gave a humph. "Well, pretty cool of you." They watched as Ronnie kept his momentum going. John hid the truth that he really didn't know how to skate. They sat there a while watching Ronnie. He was always getting better. Jeremy sighed. "I'm bored. I thought this would be more fun." Ronnie reacted. "I'm having fun." Dave admitted. "Yeah, I mean, we've seen some cool, freaky stuff, but I don't know. Wait, Ronnie!" I gotta stop to take a drink again. Just a moment. Okay. Dave ran over to Ronnie's bag and began to shuffle through it. Ron escalated up the side of the pool and stuck his landing next to Dave. "What? What you looking for?" Dave continued to rummage as his voice crescendoed to a shout. "Oh no, 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 no!" "No what?" Jeremy asked. Ronnie was puzzled too. "I don't know what. You looking for bug spray?" "No," Dave continued his fit. "We didn't bring a camera. No digital or video." "Ugh, come on, man," Jeremy admitted. "Well, even if we did bring it, we didn't remember to use it this far anyway." Dave sat and pouted, but what Jeremy said was true. Ron wanted to drive home Jeremy's point, but he knew if he tried, Dave would begin to throw blame all around on who was supposed to bring it. John reached into his bag, pulled out a pen and a notebook. Within 30 seconds, he managed to quick-draw Dave standing on a hill with a huge sword in his hand, rised up and slaying a dragon mid-flight. He held it up to show the others. Dave smiled big. "Better than a photo." John smiled in return as he commented, "Everything on this island seems larger than life." "Not everything," Jeremy said softly as he pointed down into the pool. What looked like baby mice were coming up out of the drain. Ronnie dropped down into the pool with John's roller shoes. He circled the drain and got a closer look. Dave asked, "Are they ants? Mice? Mice-sized ants?" Ron skated as close as he could without crushing them. More and more were just starting to fill the deepest part of the pool. Ronnie began to panic. "There are a whole army of them. Millions!" He scrambled, trying to skate up one bank, then the other, and back again, which he knew would give him the momentum needed to eventually pop up and out of the pool. He did it before. Why couldn't he do it now when it really mattered? The growing gang of small creatures leaped at his shoes while he protested, "No, no, stop, get off." His friends cheered him and yelled with encouragement, "Come on, Ronnie, you got this. Go, Ronnie, go. Shake them off." In between shouting inspirations, Dave added, "What are they?" Ron couldn't answer. They began to cling and claw up his pants leg. He still had no shirt on. The shredded pieces of it were left behind. He knew if they got to his bare skin, it could possibly be deadly. In a state of pure frustration, he kicked off the skate shoes and ran up the side. His friends reached out to try to grab his hand and help him up. It was no use. He couldn't get high enough. John suggested, "Just run to the shallow end. Use the steps. Grab the shoes. Get my shoes." Ronnie was a little embarrassed that he had not thought of just running to the shallow end. The pinky-sized pests were holding on to his jeans. He tried shifting his weight from one leg, then the other, shaking his leg, attempting to throw off the predators. He looked like he was doing some type of Irish Lord of the Dance routine. The other boys ran to the entrance steps of the pool to meet him. Down in the pool, Ron was making his way toward the 3-foot end. They yelled, "Run, Ron! Run!" Ron yelled back, "You run too! I can't get them off!" Dave was still asking, "What are they? Scorpions?" "They look more like scorpions than ants," he warned his friends. "Move!" Ronnie warned his friends. "Move! I think I can shake them off. I don't think they can jump high enough to come up and out using the steps. Move! Move!" Ronnie reached the steps. His friends were there with their arms extended. John held Ronnie's shoes in his hands. He offered to help. Can I swat them with your shoes? I can swat them with your shoes. John quickly tied the laces to each other. Ron realized he had left John's skate shoes in the deep end, but his mind was working in overdrive to get out, leaving these little attacking beasts behind. John jumped John jumped into the 3-foot depth and began to swing the shoes. In the struggle, Ronnie quickly shook his pants off completely, while yelling, "Keep the pants, you filthy animals!" John grabbed the pants and gave them a sharp snap in the breeze. He watched the 1-inch miniature monsters fly through the air back into the 10-foot deep section. He couldn't believe his eyes. The slope leading to the deep end was now almost a full sea of these savages. He swung Ronnie's pants around and around in the air above his head with one hand, while his other hand swung the shoes in the same way. Ron called out, "I'm out, John. Come on, save yourself." Dave and Jeremy stood helplessly frozen as they tried to comprehend what was going on. John revealed, "I think their mouths are too small to hurt. No teeth, just sharp, ow, claws." Ron responded, "Just get out. Leave them there. Leave my pants if you need to. Just get out." Dave was amazed how brave John was. He seemed not only fearless, but caught in the pure sport of fighting. Like a ninja, he had the shoes by the laces, swinging them like nunchucks. Dave tried to command John, "Get out now. There are too many." John agreed and backed his way up the steps, knocking all of his opponents down. The 4 were relieved to see that the tiny, strange attackers couldn't handle the height of the step. They sat there watching as the pool slowly was taken over with the smallest baby tigers in the whole universe. Gotta take a drink again. Okay. Jeremy spoke as if in a dream state. "Am I really seeing tigers?" Ron said, "Baby ones. Trust me, you don't want to see them any closer." "Truth," John said, while his victorious smile stretched from ear to ear. He threw Ron his pants and shoes and said, "I kicked ass." Dave admitted, "Yeah, you did." "Any injuries?" John checked his body. His feet were scratched up pretty bad, but the rest of his body was fine. That concludes Chapter 7, Part B. On to Part C.